From the Diary of Bill Lowie, Saturday, November 8th. An L-19 aircraft was reported down and lost between Vengxiao and Bianhua. We sent search and rescue teams up, but they could find nothing of the plane or pilot. Next in his diary, there was another entry, dated Sunday, November 8th. Troop lift into a fairly secure area. No contact was made. I was originally going to separate these two into different episodes, as they are two entries. However, since they are so short, I figured I'd combine them. Not much seems to be reported here by Popi, just what is seeming to be increasingly more typical activity. The L-19 Bird Dog, also known as a Cessna 01, was a versatile single-engine aircraft used extensively in Vietnam for reconnaissance, observation, and forward air control missions. Known for its agility and reliability, the L-19 was ideal for navigating the dense jungle terrain and spotting enemy movements that were otherwise hidden from ground patrols. Pilots flying the Bird Dog often directed artillery and airstrikes, providing crucial real-time intelligence to ground forces. While unarmed, the L-19 would occasionally mark targets with smoke rockets, guiding fighter jets or bombers to precise locations. Despite its effectiveness, the L-19's low-altitude flights and slow speeds made it vulnerable to enemy fire, placing pilots in constant danger as they flew missions over hostile areas to gather critical information. To resolve what we discussed last episode, the 1964 U.S. presidential election ended in a decisive victory for incumbent President Lyndon B. Johnson, a Democrat, who defeated Republican challenger Barry Goldwater by a substantial margin. Johnson won approximately 61% of the popular vote and carried 44 states, resulting in 486 electoral votes to Goldwater's 52. The election solidified the Democratic Party's commitment to civil rights and marked a turning point in American politics, shaping the national dialogue for years to come. This election marked what is typically referred to as a big flip in national politics, where Republicans and Democrats effectively switched party platforms. Though this is an oversimplification of what happened, it is an important turning point in U.S. history. To conclude, here's the second thing I wrote about Popi after I started working with his materials. It's a true story, at least as true as it can be anyway. I met him in my dream. I had a dream the other night. Well, I have dreams almost every night, but this one was different. If you'd be willing to listen, I'd love to tell you about it. I had a dream that I was in a dark restaurant, perhaps a bar. The lights were low, maybe they were gas or candle, I don't know. But I was one of the few patrons. My table was directly in the center, and the waitress was very attentive. She visited often, making sure my drink was full, and seemed intent that I have a good meal. I didn't know what was so important. Then, the front door swung open, and he took a step in. He looked like how I knew him, gray and frail and a face full of wrinkles. But he also looked like an amalgamation of every picture I've ever seen of him. He was simultaneously a child and an old man, a soldier and a fisherman, an absent father and a drunk. He took off his officer's hat that might have actually been a pilot's helmet, or the trucker hat for a cigarette company he would wear occasionally. He scanned the room and found me. We locked eyes. He marched toward me in a perfect stride, debonair and confident, but also weak and labored, like a weight on his shoulders grew with every step. The waitress pulled out his seat for him, possibly because she respected his strong military essence, or maybe she was afraid he'd fall and break a hip if he tried to do it himself. "Hey, guy," he said, giving me a wink and a chuckle. Was he clean-shaven, or did he have a mustache that I always saw? It was hard to tell. Maybe because it was dark. He ordered a drink, something strong and with little ice, like what someone who had been around a bottle would order. Actually, it looked like a glass of wine. My cousin told me that was his drink of choice after all. He then pulled out a cigarette, with impressive style, a lighter, flicking it open and lighting the tip in one single impressive motion. Was that his officer training, or just decades of practice? "Hey, Popi," I said back. Was it really him? Did it really matter? He was there. I know his presence. "What are you doing here?" I asked. "I don't know," he replied. "You tell me." He seemed happy. I had never really seen him happy. Maybe he was at peace. The waitress came out with his drink and 2 entrees, steaks and potatoes, his favorite, the only meal he ever asked Meemaw to make, or at least the only one I remember. Well, I hesitated. I hadn't thought about what I'd say if we got here. I've been doing this work with your photographs and your writing, and I never got a chance to think about what I'd say if you were sitting in front of me. Like now. He nodded confidently. You know, it's been a long time since I've seen you, I continued. Do you want me to be doing this? Are you proud of me? Then I woke up. The photo I chose for today might be one of my favorites. It depicts an L-19 flying in the air, speeding past Hueys and Cobras on the ground. I'm Alex Lowie, and I hope you have enjoyed listening to this episode of Dearest Suzie, and receiving messages from the past that my Popi wrote exactly 60 years ago. I sincerely appreciate your time and interest. Please consider following the podcast on your preferred platform, and if you're enjoying it, I kindly ask that you take the time to rate the show and leave a review. Also, please follow the project on YouTube, X, and Instagram. All likes, comments, shares, and reviews will help grow the reach of this story. The links for these things should be in the description of this episode. Please feel free to email me at dearestsuziepodcast@gmail.com if you have anything you'd like to say. I'd love to chat or to hear about your stories as well. Thank you for listening, and God bless.